Hi, I'm Liesl Gerntholtz and I'm a program advisor at the Little Market. I'm delighted to be here with you today as well as our amazing panel. For those of you who don't know, the Little Market is a non-profit organization dedicated to empowering women. This conversation is part of our Conversations with Changemakers, and we created it to celebrate International Women's Day. I'm really thrilled to be in conversation with this group of women. Hi, everyone. I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourselves to the audience.
Hi, I'm Charlize Theron. I'm the founder of CTOP, and I'm so excited to be here on this panel today with some of our on-the-ground partners who we are so honored to work with. These are the people who make everything happen, so I'm very happy to be here.
Hi everyone, my name is Sofia. I'm the Managing Director for Life Choices, a youth development organization in Cape Town. And we work with young people from underserved communities in order to tackle inequality. Hi
everyone, my name is Lucinda Evans. I am from the Western Cape in Lavender on the Cape Flats. I am a Khoisan woman, proudly Khoisan, and I work with gender-based violence and child protection.
I am Audery February. I am a senior leader at Brave Rockle, and Brave is an NGO that inspires and empowers young girls to become future leaders through travel, writing, photography, storytelling, etc.
Charlize, great to be with you, sort of on the same side of the globe. But can you tell us what made you decide to start CTOP, which is the Charlize Theron Africa Outreach Project? And why did you decide to focus on HIV as one of your priorities?
You know, I think any kind of giving back for me has just always been part of my DNA. I don't know a South African who doesn't have a part of their being feel like survival depends on all of us kind of like getting together. I think that's just, there's something very South African in that. And you know, I was raised during the start of this AIDS epidemic, and when apartheid was still alive and well. And so it was a very conflicting time to be a young person and grow up and, you know, be a white young person with a lot of privilege, and to see that I was fully aware of that. And when I left South Africa, it was the one thing that was always burning in my mind. How can I come back to my country and be part of the problem solving? How can I not get in the way? How can I take this audience that I have and kind of bring them into my world, into South Africa? And how can I be part of maybe solving some of the biggest problems that we were facing at the time? And that was so many people unnecessarily dying from HIV and AIDS. And I felt like there was a gap in looking at young people and investing in prevention and investing in the young person, investing in young people in South Africa. And so slowly, like I'm talking right now, the onion just started peeling back. And what we wanted to do with CTOP became clearer every single day. And it still does. Every year it becomes clearer to us what we want to do. But the part that was a no-brainer was that through my fortunate life, I've gotten to see the actual on-the-ground work that so many great organizations are doing in South Africa. And that was the part that I think was always inspiring for all of us at CTOP. How can we support these incredible communities who are already doing this work? But it was I don't think I'll be able to come to South Africa if I wasn't part of something that was, I guess, investing in the future of the country the way I get to with these incredible women and their partners on the ground.
You're prioritizing interventions with young people. Why?
When we're looking at young people 25 and under, they're 60% of that continent's population. In 2020, the median age was 19, I think, 19 and a half. So we know that that is a big part of well, we can say it, it's the majority of who we want to reach. They are also, as we all know, sometimes the hardest to reach, not just physically, but emotionally. But they are the most vulnerable. And that we know for a fact. So these are things that we know. And I think it is important for us to be very innovative in how we reach that demographic. And that's where your partners come in. That is where you reach out to people who are living in communities who are the hardest hit. It's where you come up with programs who can and be innovative in how they put programs together for young people, to have people be actively searching for young people to be the face of their program so that young people feel safe. It's some of the hardest work that you will do, but it's also the most rewarding work. But it is very, very important work, because without young people, we're never ever going to get to the end of a lot of the problems that we are facing. They are the answer. They're also, for me, the most inspiring to work with. You know, I find that young people are the ones who are always pushing the envelope. The young people are the ones who are willing to fight the hardest because they have the most to lose. They are also the ones who kind of like tell us what's up. And in many ways, I think that they're the most inspirational when it comes to real justice and change when we see those things happening, because they are the ones who truly sometimes are out there fighting for themselves.
Audery, Charlize has talked about how young people must be part of the solution to South Africa's problems, in fact, the world's problems. But can you help the people watching this understand what are some of the challenges for young South Africans?
Well, there's so many challenges that young people face, and some of the main challenges for me is school dropouts, gangsterism, teenage pregnancy, rape, murder, abuse, HIV and AIDS, and the list goes on. But I feel like all of this is happening because of poverty.
Sofia, with all of these issues, are young people able to access the support and care they need?
The young people in Cape Flats lack a lot of resources, things that we take for granted in other places. These young people many times spend their energy and their lives surviving more than developing and thriving. So resources is lacking in all levels, from families that have two parents taking care of them, with somebody working or somebody that has finished education, to government services like clinics that are overcrowded, that the services are directed for mothers with children or the elderly and not for young people. So many times young people go to schools, and when they come out of schools, the clinics are already closed. So they cannot access the clinics. So resources are a problem of all kinds. And that is the reason that services are needed to be offered where young people is, and that can be appealing and attractive for young people. So we talk more from the positive side than really the doom side. And that attracts young people. Everyone wants to talk about their future and their dreams. And if they have somebody that listens to them and that shows deeply care and that links them to resources, young people is all open to it.
I love that you talk more about their dreams and aspiration rather than the doom side. But how are you making services really appealing to young people?
Accessibility, so meaning that young people can reach the services easily, that the staff that provides the services are extremely youth-friendly and young people can relate to it, that many times the services use interactive methodologies. We use a lot of play therapy in our services.
Audery, I want to bring you back in here again. Brave started with a bench at a school. Tell us more about that, and then how Brave is creating even more safe spaces for young women.
Well, Brave, 10 years ago, Brave's first safe space started off as a bench, and we created this bench near the principal's office in the community, and that was one of the safest places we had. And this bench became a symbol to all girls. Whenever there was a girl sitting on the bench, when a girl walked past, they would know something was wrong, and they would go and sit next to the girl, and they would start having a conversation. And this bench started to get like so famous that many local artists started to collaborate with Brave. And we created about 60 benches all over Cape Town. And then after that, we started with the Brave Exiled, and the workshop started, and that became a safe haven to all girls, like many young girls. That's where we formed our sisterhood. And also, we recently have a safe hub with some of the senior leaders stay at and work from. And it's also a place for the other young girls, for the junior girls and the senior leaders to come and study or stay at for a night if they feel unsafe at home.
Tell us about the workshops. How do they work? What are people getting out of them?
What these workshops created was not only a safe place for girls, but also a place where young girls can look up to another young girl. And at these workshops, we talk about these difficult issues that we're going through, like having a difficult way to get to healthcare and all those things. And we speak up about these things, and we encourage the girls to write about these issues, and we put it out there on platforms so that people can see that young people are really like starting to have a voice and speak up about these challenges that we face.
Lucinda, welcome. Lovely to have you here as well. Let's start by explaining what the name of your organization is and what it means to you, because it has a very personal meaning for you.
Our organization has a very interesting name in the Cape Flats, because primarily people speak Afrikaans on the Cape Flats. So Pilisa means healing, and Abafazi is women, and Betu means our. So it means heal our women. And the name originated from the Eastern Cape when I was traveling to Port St. John's, and I stopped on the Umzivubu River Bridge. I was violently ill, not knowing I was 5 kilometers from my destination. And I spent the night on that bridge with 2 women that looked after me. And the next day, when I continued the journey, I was well enough to drive, and discovered I was just around the corner from my destination. The very first thing when I got to the B&B, I asked, what does healing mean? And that name resonated. And when I started Belisa Abufazi in my dining room, in my family home, and I ran this project for 8 years in the dining room from the garage, it was something that resonated with the healing in a community where violence at that time was at the epitome. Lavender Hill is still violent, but I adopted that I was going to bring lavender to the hills. So we can't grow lavender here because all these concrete blocks that was built, flats from the apartheid era. We can't smell lavender, but this was the motto when I started, that I wanted to bring lavender back to the hills. I swapped the community name around, and every single act, every single thing I did was the lavender, even with all the challenges for the hills.
That's really, really lovely. How are you bringing lavender to the hills?
So for the last 8 years when we were in the home, I actually protected women with their children. And it happened that I started the project in the garage. Word by mouth went out that there's this woman in a home that is providing protection for women that were abused with their children. And what happened was that I started running information workshops. I had a group in the dining room, a group in my children's room, a group in my bedroom, and a group on the grass. So we would take out the furniture and put it on the grass, but women came with their children. And it wasn't only just toddlers. The children became older and older. So I had 12 and 13 and 14 and 15-year-olds that didn't have a space. So 2 years into the program, I then started the after-school / junior youth program, where we taught children resilience, where some of the activities were, if there is violence in the home, how do you get out by the front door? How do you get out through the window? What do you tell the neighbor? How do you get the message to us? And this has been our life for 8 years. We have taken our program, and I live around 4 informal settlement. So I would take the program into the informal settlement, backpack on my back with the volunteers, and we would walk. And we would have meetings in the community where we would speak to women with their children and invite the youth to the after-school program. So after-school programs, I ran for about 6 years in the informal settlement. And on the occasions when the gang violence broke out, we would lay in the sand, we would duck with our arms across each other because I had a whistle. And so when they were shooting, I would blow on the whistle. Once is duck, twice is roll, and 3 means that you could get up. And we after 8 years and no funding, because the one thing, the biggest challenge I had was funding, that there was this new woman kid on the block. I named and shamed everyone in provincial government. There was no one whose name I had not put on a placard and went to court and went to parliament and all of those. So I'm notoriously not a liked person in many other spheres, but my family and Jesus liked me, and that's all I need, and I like myself. So we outgrew the house by a long shot. And another organization offered us space. We then moved from the home a little, but most of the stuff were in the house still. We moved into bigger premises, and 2 months into the bigger premises, we were evicted because the premises were sold. And we had no funding. And I went onto Facebook and I had a first donation 2 years ago of 2 containers. Last November, we completed construction of 29 shipping containers, multicolor, Khoisan village. So I built a center from shipping containers, which is now a family/women's center.
Lucinda, it sounds like the hills in the Cape Flats are really going to be purple with lavender soon if you have anything to do about it. But as you said, you started off working with women and kids, and now you're taking on a new enormous challenge.
We have moved from the feminist approach, and we are looking at why are our young boys violent? Where is that coming from? Who has taught them violence? Where is this pain? So the notorious Lucinda Evans from Cape Town has decided during 16 days of activism that I'm going to spend the next 2 years supporting boys and young men. So we are starting a boys to men program. And Sofia, I've just had a conversation with your organization about a week and a bit ago about parenting, because parenting is important. We need to address the intimate partner violence in an approach where we work via the child. So we want to start the Boys to Men program, but I've spoken to your organization about parenting skills. And in the middle, we want to start the agricultural program. So I'm interesting enough, I'm on a premises where I currently don't have water and electricity. I've been running since November off a generator. But we're going to start the agricultural program where we want to have families work in the garden, mom, partner, and the youth. We're looking at having the youth run the agricultural program so that we look at entrepreneurial skills. The one big thing that made me also very unpopular with the gangsters is that I started messing with their pocket. Nothing to do with money, everything to do with our young men and our young girls. So I offered since last year that we do weekend sleepovers at the nature reserve, not too far from us. And that is messing with the pocket, because you can't use this young person to sell drugs or be a mule or be a runner. And this was the alternative. We worked with 25 youth. They are still with us. We are doing various of programs, Monday to Saturday. And this has been the new Lavender for the youth, where we showcase what can be done with a little bit of support, a little bit of innovation, thinking out of the box and making use of resources that there is.
Sofia, as Lucinda mentions, Life Choices works with families. Tell us a bit more about what you're doing with them.
So one of the programs that Lucinda is talking is our work with families. It's critical for us to work with families so that we build resilient families that are able to provide safe environments, environments that where children can develop properly, and also link families to be able to do some income. So link parents to get jobs. But I think one of the things that we definitely share with Lucinda work is the healing component. It's critical that every single program we run, it needs to heal the individual, because only if we heal, we'll be able to transform communities. So that is one of the programs we run. We also run a program in leadership, where we help young people to be servant leaders and to get to college and university. And the last program we run is employment, where we work with young people. That is a major issue in South Africa, and I suppose around the world. How do we help young people that will not be able to further their education in college and university to still develop skills that allow them to have dignified jobs? So we have, we run an academy where we provide a coding bootcamp for 12 months, and young people come and learn computer coding, and after they go for pay internships with the industry, and after 12 months, we hope that they can get jobs and get good pay. So we provide different programs in a holistic manner.
It's so clearly important to provide services to young people so that you can set them up for success. You're a young leader yourself, Audery. What roles do schools play in building the skills of young people?
There's so much like that we are not being taught in school that I feel like needs to be taught within the classroom, because the things they teach in school is not, when you grow up and you finish school, it's not in the real life. So I feel like things at school needs to change so that when we grow up and start learning, becoming adults and going through life, we know what's really like wanted and expected from us, not just teaching us like the stuff around the edges. Give us like, I think we need to be taught more than what we are actually being taught at school.
Charlize, you have some truly amazing partners, and they're all obviously having such a deep impact on their communities. But why did you decide to focus on community leadership rather than bigger, more established organizations? What was it about the community organizations that drew you in?
This is my inspiration right here. There has never, and I've been fortunate enough in my lifetime to see how bigger organizations work. We all play a function on some level in the global aspect of how we're going to challenge ourselves to resolve these issues. But I ultimately believe that the predominant work happens on the ground within the community. So I look to our partners on the ground. I look to them and ask them what they need to get the impact that they need, right? Because I don't know, I'm not living there. And this concept of, you know, people from the West coming over with all the answers, that we have to start eliminating that and look at the leadership who are on the ground doing the work, who speak on a daily basis to the people who are the ones who are needing the resources, who are needing the support, who are needing the education. And so that part, I think we can do better at. I think the world can do better at that, because none of these things will get resolved unless we actually start looking at it at a community level.
This conversation has made me super hopeful, but I really want to know what gives each of you hope. Lucinda, can you go first?
What gives me hope is CTOP funding that made it possible for us to go in places during this COVID time that I never thought as an organization that we had to become a humanitarian organization, that food brought peace in the home and peace in communities, and it was a deterrent to violence. What gives me hope is that I can still advocate for the rights of all women in this country. And as much as what I am oppressed, because I am an oppressed woman, as much as nothing is coming our way in terms of where we see ourselves, the hope is still that there is still lavender for the hills. And every day, every day with a little bit that I do. Audery, I want to especially motivate you. You do not give up on your dream. It took me 10 years, Audery, in a garage. I sat in my garage 10 years. I dreamed of the center that we've just completed in November. That's the Lavender. It was a seed. Never have I thought that I would be able to build from 29 old rusty shipping containers a center. Our paths as women, we are still in the trenches. Although our parents and grandparents have fought for liberation, women are still oppressed. So every day I try to be the lavender and to sow the lavender and to bring lavender to the hills.
Audery, what's bringing lavender to your hills?
Firstly, thank you so much, Lucinda, for those words. Like, I really took everything to heart. And what gives me hope is the fact that, like, I was very young when I decided that this is not like what I want for myself and for the future generation, like myself and the rest. And also, like, just being able to see how I inspire other young girls gives me hope that knowing that we will make a change in the world. It might not be tomorrow, but it will be one day.
Sophia, what gives you hope?
What gives me hope is the human spirit of the people and the communities we work with. To give you an example, in June is the Youth Month in South Africa, and we run a campaign called 30 Stories in 30 Days, where we publish a youth story every day. And the theme is From Victim to Victor. And they really talk about extremely hardships, from being sexually abused by a relative as a child to end up on the streets, living on the streets because eviction, to being a child taking care of other children. I'm thinking about a case of a child that was shot in the head at the age of 3 years by a robber, survived many months in the hospital, and when survived, half of her body has become impaired, has never fully recovered. And when I'm interviewing this young person, now as a young person, as a youth, she talks with such a strength, with such a dignity, with such a resilience, wisdom, have done the work of acceptance, forgiveness, and that kind of spirit is something that I think there is in all the world, but I have seen it so much in South Africans. That is something that really gives me a lot of hope. And it is worth it to do the work we do just to be able to work with this caliber of people.
Charlize, these are pretty tough acts to follow, but what gives you hope?
So after that, it's pretty evident what inspires me. It's all of these faces. And I agree with Lucinda, not to put the world's pressure on your shoulders, Audery, but it's young people who really inspire me. Because young people are the ones that I think are carrying the biggest burden of some of our biggest mistakes that our older generations, my generation, that we've made. And they carry that burden, and it's one of the most unfair things to witness. But the inspiration and the hope comes from watching those young bodies be so resilient and just be such fighters. And I'm not going to get emotional, but that's the thing that I think drives me every single day to want to do this work. And I agree with Sophia. I think South Africa is one of the most underlined places where you will witness the most suffering and also the most bounce back from suffering. When you watch South Africans and how they, if there was ever a nation to just say, okay, we're done, we're not doing it anymore, South Africa could very well be that nation. And yet South Africa and South Africans are the ones who are fighting the hardest for the things that they need. And so a little bit that we can add into that fight is a real honor. But I am so inspired. These are these faces that you see right here when I go visit our other on the ground organizations that we are fortunate enough to work with, and I see kids who have been with us for the last decade, and we see the evolution of where they go with so little. That's the thing that gives me hope. I have seen with my own eyes how much change can happen with so little if you are thoughtful and determined to actually put resources in the right hands. And these are the right hands right here. I would encourage anybody who considers to donate to an organization to really do your homework and to look at community-based organizations before you just go to the first Google pop that's going to come up, which will be a big organization. And this is not belittling the work that they do, but I will so encourage people to really educate themselves on community-based organizations. People who are, like Lucinda said, the ones in the trenches with the people. Those are the people that we need to support. And so you guys all give me hope. And Audery, do whatever it is that you want to do, because I also don't feel like you should have the pressure of saving the world. I think that we need to encourage young women to throw some of the burden off their shoulders and to actually live their dreams so that they're fulfilled, right? It isn't just their responsibility. I think we need to take some of that responsibility on ourselves. So whatever it is that you want to do, go do that, girl, because I think that will be what will be inspiring other young people. And listen, if it is the presidency, I'm voting for you.
This has been a really amazing conversation. Thank you to all of you for joining us. A special thanks to everybody who joined us from South Africa, which is not a very forgiving time zone for you. I'm Liesl Gerntholtz from The Little Market. Thank you for joining us.